Hello, everybody. This is Oakwalker. We're with Earth Medicine for the Soul. This is my good friend Stronghorse on I think he's that way on your screen. Um, and we are here today to talk about all things shamanic and spiritual and how they relate to our lives and the stories that we've earned in our own journeys throughout this kind of shamanic growth, soul growth process is what we do. It's all about the soul growth process. So today we thought we were going to talk about how did you put that? Um, being in conscious.
To get
Yeah,
conscious parity with the planet.
that was it. Parity with the planet. I really love that choice of words. Um, because when I think of parity, it's a matter of being in communion with something like in Spanish, they have that word con, which means that you're always with something. Con to be con is to be with. And parity brings that for some reason to my mind as we talk going forward. What did you want to lead off with?
Well, the way the thing that came up to me, it's oftentimes when you say, what are we going to talk about?" And I start watching for something to show me, you know, clue me in. And so I read this guy who writes a column on, I think, for the San Antonio paper, and he's always it's really something that deals mostly with politics. And
Mm.
he was talking about how environmentalists are switching away from the term climate change into more economic discussions, like what it's going to cost you in jobs, this is what's going to this is what it's going to do to the economy, yada yada yada, because they just aren't getting any traction with by using climate change. People are just, I don't know, whatever, done with it, and
Yeah,
so is the he always has a question on there, and he said, "Do you think switching from climate change to economics will help people become more aware of and the environment?" And I responded, "No." I said,
I
"It's not
agree.
about the money or the heat. It's about attaining economic conscious parity with the planet, and too many people are just clueless."
Yeah.
That comment will probably never see the light of day, but
Well,
it gave
yeah.
us something to talk about today.
Right. So,
So,
so
and
yeah.
so then today coming home, I also, another thing that's really been coming up for me around, which really sparked. I think we talked about this a little bit about when I ended up in this breakfast group of Trump supporters, and
Mm.
and they're all grumpy old men, old white men,
Yeah,
and they
yeah, yeah.
you asked me what are they like, and I said they're all desperate for personal value,
Uh-huh.
and that was a commonality between them. They just were just, I mean, they would make shit up, and they would tell each other lies, and everybody go, "Oh, it's great," and they were pumping each other up with bullshit, and I
Yeah, I'm
thought,
seeing that
how
everywhere.
weird. That's really weird. And so, I was, to say the least, I was on the outside looking in, and
Hmm.
so I started thinking about this, reality about having a conscious environment, parity with the planet. And, I'm going to start off by saying this. In the world that people, where they don't have conscious parity with the planet, there's no personal value. There's none,
That's a good
you
point,
know.
I think.
You because they're all, I mean, they measure themselves by how much wealth they accumulate, and then people are all sucking up to them,
Or
try to figure out how
approval.
to get next to their money, to
Yeah,
get into the cash flow. And I've been in both worlds. I mean, they have clubs that are literally established specifically for this, that you apply, and they look, well, who are they? What's their
yeah,
finances like?
yeah,
What schools do they go to? I mean,
yeah.
it's just sick, man. And
Are you good enough to play on my golf course?
yes, and I've been in there. I've been in the country club. I've been in the golf course, and I've been in over 50 sweat lodges and 22 sun dances. And I can tell you, there's no personal value in that world.
Uh-huh.
It's all an illusion. It's just fake,
Yeah.
you know? And so I think that this term parity with the conscience of the planet is going to become the bell cow for the future. I mean, it just is because that whole world that's based on, the fake ID and the wealth and everybody
Uh-huh.
sucking up to everybody, man, that's falling apart, because
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally within, I think, months, maybe weeks of exposing this massive, crazy child pedophile, Satan worshiping
Crime
international
ring.
cabal. And I mean, how many people have been going, oh my God, and I voted for the guy. You know, it's gonna be a huge crash, don't you think?
Yes, I do. I think there's so much in what you just said there. Then it does absolutely all start with the disconnection that we all have from what's measurably meaningful in life. So just run that back a little ways. Yes, they've started moving away from the term climate change for three big reasons. One is that the gaslighters who are going to profit off of fossil fuels, etc., and the old ways, they don't want to change, so they're not going to do anything about climate change anyway. The other thing is that people don't understand um, the difference between climate and weather. And there's hundreds of scientists have been out there trying to explain that difference to them, to other people, because I think I get it, so that makes them a them. And 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 every time it gets cold, people go, see, climate change is bullshit. And that's not true because I'm in Texas. We're in the middle of a 3-year drought that was a 10-year drought, you know, 2 years ago. And I I see things getting hotter and worser here. Animals are moving uphill. They're moving north. The natural world is adjusting to a completely different level of conditions on the planet, and so there's that. Now, another thing is that the people who are trying to undo that level of gaslighting, because the gaslighting is always going to be about money and power, right? That's why we've been gaslit to be colonialists. That's why we've been gaslit to be white supremacists. That's why we've been gaslit to be all of these this culture that seems to have nothing to do with nature at all anymore. And everywhere, all the movies, all the radio shows, all the songs, all the bulletin boards, all the history books, they all tell this very same narrative that has nothing to do with your value as a human being created by a, a creator whose model is nature. Right, right. Nature is that the model of, it's the face of God, if you will. It's the face of the creator. And we've done nothing in the world but try to divorce ourselves as a culture and as a species from that notion that we belong to the earth instead of the earth belonging to us. And there's the crux of the matter. So now they're going with the economic argument because it's the only one they've got left, right? They're not getting any
Yeah.
traction on climate change. They're not getting any traction on, becoming more beautiful people or closer with the creator. So all they can do is say, well, it's going to make you poorer. And it's a lame argument and it isn't going to get anywhere for the same reason that you just said. And it's because it isn't doing anything to bring us closer to the face of God, to the face of the Creator, which is coming back into a relationship with nature where we coexist with it, We're going to find out the hard way if we don't, that nature is what sustains us, not money.
Yeah, and to bring it back into that personal value thing, I think that
Hmm.
what's important, what I see is vitally important is that if you don't have some menial connection with your spirit, your soul, I mean, you're just not authentic. You're not authentic, and you can beat your head against the wall trying to convince others that you are. You're not. And you never will be. I mean,
Right.
and
You can't
authenticity
fake it.
really, yeah, authenticity is the key here. I mean, it's a place where we have to get real with our own personal and honest with ourselves before we develop the internal mechanics that are necessary to achieve a parity with the consciousness of the planet. Because if you're not at least pursuing consciousness, or at least have some sort of desire to know that, you're not
Yeah.
going anywhere, man. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just spinning your wheels like a. That's why they call it the rat race, and it literally
Yeah.
is.
It's all
I mean,
performative.
it's all performative. That's exactly right. And I had a really interesting thought coming home today from Austin, and it. I realize a lot of these tech companies are trying to um, resist people coming in and overseeing them and regulating them, and they keep denying that, oh no, these programs aren't designed to create addiction in kids, and it's not harming children, blah blah blah, because I think, whether they know it consciously or not, I think that they realize that what they've created is a platform for people that have no personal value to think that they do.
Yeah.
They get on that platform, and they talk shit, and they think people are really listening to them.
Uh-huh.
and and so, wow, look how awesome I am, and I
Yeah.
really am somebody, and the truth is, so if it ever comes around, and I think it will, if it ever comes around to the point where people start realizing this is not humanizing me, this is dehumanizing me.
Yeah. Because you have to
You
throw
know,
yourself away in the name of approval to get anywhere in that system. You
Yeah,
sacrifice
but
your
even the approval's BS. I mean, it's not.
exactly.
Nobody really cares what you have to say. They're looking for an argument, or or you said something that just went completely over their head,
Yeah.
and now they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know,
If they
I
had
mean,
enough
it's
sense to
it's
even
just
be embarrassed.
yeah, it's just a. I mean, it's just a fake existence. I mean, it
I
really
agree.
is. And
Hmm.
I think that what you and I are trying to do is, say to people, hey, there's a whole nother way, man. There's a whole nother way
Yeah.
that makes sense, that is comfortable, that you'll fall in love with, and it just is, and it creates a harmony, and
Yeah.
it creates a harmony within you and with everything around you. And I mean, we can go on and on with it, but today what we're trying to do is to get the point across is, look, you got to reach a state of equality with the planet.
Okay.
That's what I consider parity to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Where your importance and the planet's importance come together as a unit there, because you can't that system where I like to talk about how it's all about approval of others. Their approval doesn't it means nothing, right? It's a completely
Right,
meaningless thing. But everybody's chasing this level of fame, if you will,
right.
and all of that draws you away from any kind of a relationship that you're going to have, to be able to go and listen to a tree, to notice when the birds come by, all of that stuff is also it is the world you're in. To be aware and to be in touch with and appreciative of the world that we're in. Today when I was working at my mesa back there, um geez, almost as soon as I started, right outside my window, this little house wren, just came and sat by the window for a while. Just was like watching me do it. And so, maybe a lot of people would go, well, who cares? But they don't just come and hang out with me all the time. They're when I'm doing something special and meaningful and something that establishes that relationship with the planet even better and stronger. And then I get validation like a bird coming and hanging out and going, dude, how you doing? This is good. Keep doing
You know,
that.
that's why I have a lot of respect for Tom Brown. You know, the guy that out in New Jersey that would teach people how to track.
Oh, I
You
remember
ever
him.
heard him?
Hmm.
He'd go out, you could go to that school and they would take you out and they would show you
Yeah.
how to read the plants, how to read the land, how to read,
Hmm.
and they call it tracking, but really what he's doing is he's saying, look, there's constants all around you, man, all
Yep.
around you. Just pay attention.
Yep.
Pay
Situational
attention.
awareness that brings you in touch with, right? That
Yeah.
you're in touch, you're mm. Mateo, my dear friend who does a lot of our circles for us and with us, he likes to tell us to go and sit quietly, and then he'll say, and just be quiet and listen for the sound that's the furthest away. Listen out with your ears as far as you possibly can. Concentrate on the smallest possible sounds and then just bring those into you. And that's a wonderful exercise that I like to do too. It's about just immersing myself in what is instead of a
Yeah. It
narrative of
just, I
what
mean,
should be.
yeah, I mean, it's a simple exercise of taking the time to go outside and sit and be with it, be
Yeah,
with your environment. A lot of people they go out and their idea of going outside is to do something. We got to be doing something. We're
yeah,
hiking here or we're climbing there or we're doing this,
yeah,
we're all doing something.
yeah,
But what you're not doing is you're not being with your environment. You
right.
know, you're taking this whole domination and control matrix that you're enmeshed in through your education and through your culture, and you're applying it out there in the natural world, and the natural world's going, what a moron. Hey, catch this guy. He thinks he can dominate nature.
Right?
Yeah,
It's like
better
they're
look
trying to
around, pal.
impose this picture on the
You're
world that
not winning. you know, you're losing. Better check it out. A little
yeah.
closer. Oh my God. Oh, that's great. So yeah, yeah, boy, I just really search for ways to try to get this across to people, because it's so difficult to talk to somebody it's literally, like trying to talk to a Trump supporter and explain to them that, this is really not good, what you're doing, what you're getting behind here. And they don't want to hear it,
Hmm.
because they see that as an attack on their personal value.
Exactly.
That,
And
that's how
that's why
that's
they close straight off as soon as you
straight
uh
up.
it's you don't even know, it's not even like you're contradicting them. All you have to do is imply that there might be another reality, and they're gone. They
Go on.
they've left the room. I had one of a very, I'm gonna say a very conservative person sitting on my that would be my left one day, and on my right I had another person telling me that his uncle can't go to work for the last week because ICE is in town and he's afraid that he won't come home from work, so he's not working. And I said, I know that's just terrible. And I said, and the saddest part is that the reason the crime that these people are being deported for isn't even a crime, it's a civil offense equal to a parking ticket. And then I turned to my left and he was gone. He got up, he got up and left when I said it's not a crime.
See no evil, hear
Yeah,
no evil,
right.
speak no evil.
Right? It's just like here, he's like, I'm not going to listen to this, and I'm just like, well, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop saying it. I have this.
So, so I'll just say another thing that we ought to touch on, I think, which is, probably stretching out a little bit, but it's reality that we're getting ready to go into, and that is a split that's
Yeah.
occurring on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I think without a doubt that if the split's going to go between those who have some conscious awareness and engagement with the planet and those that
That's right.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it really it's going to be that simple. I mean, you
Yeah.
and I think that the ones who will be allowed to step over into the other world, the new world, are the ones who have already demonstrated their willingness to respect and to honor and to engage with their environment, you
And
know,
accept what
and,
is.
and accept what is and be with what is,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And so, it's going to leave those who still hold on to that identity value that's based around greed and domination
Hmm.
and control, and
Hmm.
they're gonna have their own little shit show to have to live in,
Yeah.
and I think that separation's for real, man. I still am not clear exactly what it's going to look like, but I mean, don't you?
Yeah, so yes, I think the split is for real, and it's manifesting in the way these two narratives are so important in defining each person's reality. I mean, that the reality is the narrative, or vice versa. The narrative is the reality. All of the stories that we're telling ourselves about what is and what appears to us to be out there, that's all that's our truth, right? And our truths are getting further and further and further apart. And that watching that narrative split is the same thing as watching a consciousness split, right? Because our two consciousnesses aren't going to be allowed aren't going to be able to cross over anymore. We're not going to be able to be conscious of each other's existence anymore. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I that's the kind of a split we're talking about, and that we can't even. It's not just that you can't communicate. Like I can't even see your reality. You know? It,
Yeah, I think that if I'm what I've been seeing sort of in the dream is that we live in a multi-dimensional world, and
we
and
do.
and every one of those dimensions is defined by a veil,
Hmm.
and let's call that a wall of pressure. Okay.
Okay.
And so, when you transcend from one dimension to another dimension, it's like you have to be able to align with the pressure that separates those dimensions before you're allowed to cross over, to step through. I mean, I've noticed this in ceremonies, like when I'm going from third to fifth dimension.
Yeah.
There's like when I first started sun dances, I would hit that wall, and man, I'm telling you, it was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
how am I going to do this? I mean, and I would just be hammered, and I think this is insane. It's kind of like running. When I first started running, I remember thinking, who invented this? You know,
But
what
then
a
when
what
you
a moron.
yeah, but there's this threshold that you cross over where you see that uh your exertion is matching your intake, right? Your breath and your
Exactly.
exertion are matching.
Exactly.
But you have to get into that mode, you have to step into that when you're running in
Exactly.
order. And it's the same thing. I completely agree. In ceremony, you see the same thing. You see where everybody's, milling around. They finally sit down. They get it all ready to go. And then there's a point at which everybody just like phew, zones into the thing. And now you're in a completely new dimension. It's a it's a sacred space. It's a different thing.
And I think that this dimension is, it was interesting. I've heard a lot of people lately, and they've been talking about, the Mayans. Where'd the Mayans go? What about the Anastasia? Where'd the Anastasia go? Where'd they go? Is it possible that they went over into a new world? Yeah, I think it probably is.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
think I think that's a reality, because they cannot, a lot of them say well, it's drought, well, we got that going on too. We got we're checking all the boxes, man.
Yeah,
you know, but I think that you could step. We're going to be see people are going to actually step over across into another dimension, and they'll be given a choice of whether they want to go back or not. And some will choose to go back, and I will call those bridgers. You hear that all the time from people who have after life stories.
yeah,
They crossed over and they're in this place where there's just massive love and they're in light and they're just like, oh, this is incredible.
yeah.
I had no idea this could be this wonderful.
Right.
And then they're like, do you want to go back? I'm like, no, no, no. Yeah, I think you probably do. The next thing they wake up on the operating table, what? And so I think that's going to happen to us. I think that it's going to be but on a collective level. I think collectively you're going to see people stepping across and find themselves in a new space and going, I'm totally good with this.
Yeah,
And I don't really need to go back to that other world,
yeah. Can I
you know.
stay? Uh-huh. Yeah,
And I don't know if that's a physical reality or not. I kind of tend to think it probably will be. I think the rapture is probably a lot of truth to that. I've always had a fondness for that, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I can
yeah, we
say
sure
one thing:
will.
if you're not in parity with the conscience of the planet, you can forget about it.
Yeah. And the planet forgets about you too. So I don't know what's going to happen to you. Are you going to go down to some kind of underworld? Ooh, maybe that's hell.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Anyway, I can't wait to, we've got to go. I can't wait to continue this discussion at another time. I have no idea how it's going to go, but I do want to touch on some stories I've got in my experience where it seemed like we may have crossed a veil so that people from another time, it might have looked like another time or possibly another dimension, were sort of sharing the same space with us. And that might be what this shift is going to look like. So maybe next time we get to talking, we can sort of take things in that direction because it's a real interesting discussion. And it's sort of also like, quantum physical and all that kind of stuff. So, which is right in my wheelhouse
Yeah, and we can talk about magic, and how important magic is in the world,
to the whole
and what
thing and when what
yeah,
it is.
and what's the definition of magic?
Exactly.
Magic's been cast in this, let's see if you can pull a rabbit out of the hat, or it's some
Yeah.
sort of evil thing, and it's
Yeah.
not really talked about in terms of, the the greatest magic that you can have is to make a child. You know,
Right.
I mean that's it just doesn't get any more magical than that,
Yeah.
So
And
it's
by
kind
the way,
of
it takes
weird. You got to
40
be
weeks. You don't just pop those out with a wand going, now.
that's right. That's right. All
Well,
right, man. So are
okay.
we good?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you, everyone. I've had a real good time with this time, with this particular episode. So I'm going to wish you all a great and wonderful good night or good morning, whatever it is, or whenever it is where you are. And I want to say thank you. Um, I also want to remind
Right.
you, yeah, thank you. And I want to remind you that you can always find us at earth-ems.org. And on there, I'm struggling to keep up with the list of episodes and where you can find us. There's links to everything on that site. So if you want to see more, go out and look us up. Thank you very much and namaste.